Welcome back to week 3 of personal mastery. And this week we're going to handle how to manage conflict. Look, let's begin with accepting a core fact that there will be conflict. You cannot avoid the situation, but yes, you can handle it with grace and with greatness. See, what is conflict really? Conflict is a disagreement. It's a clash of ideas. It's a clash of beliefs. And like L. Ron Hubbard says, it's intention counter intention. Let me give you an example. When I was in college, I wanted to take up literature. And as you've heard the story, my father wanted me to take up science as a subject. Now there was conflict. I had one intention and he had another. So literally we were at loggerheads. I have my way of thinking and he had his way of thinking. And guess what? If you look at it from individual viewpoints, from my viewpoint and my father's viewpoint, we both were right. Because I can tell you there are a lot of people who agreed with me, and there were also a lot of people who agreed with my father. Let me give you another example. Let's say the husband gets a transfer to go to France for a year to work there. Now the wife is not happy. She's not happy with this move. Her husband's going to be gone for a year and God knows what's going to happen. You know how people think. But if you look at it from both individual viewpoints, they both are right. The wife is insecure. She's going to miss her husband. She doesn't know how to live without him and so on. So her emotional viewpoint is correct. The husband feels that it's the opportunity of a lifetime. And if he doesn't take it, somebody else will, and it will spoil his future prospects. He's also right. So how do we handle conflict in a manner that both people understand, both don't feel bad, and the solution is one that serves the higher good? So I'm going to divide the situation into 3 parts. Number 1 is where you really wish well for the person, but there is conflict. Now let's take up the first situation where you really wish well for the person. Now let's say you're the father and you have a son who's been saving money for 5 years. And now when he has a sizable amount of money saved, he wants to buy a car. Now you think he should buy a house because that's great investment. The money stays and perhaps the money doubles, whereas the car is a liability. Now you both are at loggerheads. There's a clash of intention. There's a clash of interest. And now the relationship has gone sour because you're opposing the desire of your son. Now look, here is the thing. You wish well for the person, but there is conflict. And when you wish well for the person and the person doesn't want it that way, it's okay to let go. Because you know what? How far will you control? How far will you go to make things happen, to put up a fight, and you lose goodwill with the person, you lose trust, you lose your ability to support the person. And then what will happen when you turn your back? You cannot spend your entire life telling people what to do. And you cannot make decisions for people and you cannot live their life for them. Yes, it could turn out to be a mistake, but it would be a lesson learned, isn't it? Life is long. Haven't you made so many mistakes? So yes, while you wish well for the person, allow the other person to see that for his or her own life. And sometimes a setback or mistake is necessary for the person to realize their shortcoming and to course correct. And yes, you're right. You want to be protective. You want to use your experience to guide the person's life. But you know what? You gained experience through some tough decisions and through some really stupid mistakes. Allow people to do that and be there watching over them. Conflict is really not necessary. Number 2 is where you find that the person is disagreeing with you. The person is being a roadblock. The person is blocking your path or your success because the person really only cares about themselves and what is important to them. Now, let's say, for example, you have made a lot of savings and now your father is sick and he needs money. But you say, okay, I really don't care about it. He was irresponsible. He should have looked after his health and he should have saved the money. I'm going and buying my car. Okay, now in this situation, you do have a duty. Yes, bad things happen. Yes, the other person made a wrong decision about their finances and help. But in this moment, the person needs your help and you need to show up. Now, denial of duty as a point of conflict, well, that will earn you bad karma, where you only care about your good and you deny the other person help. Number 3 is what frustrates a lot of people. You have seen people who are shut, rigid, and so stubbornly self-assured that their argument, that their opposition, that their counter intention really doesn't even make sense. They don't want to listen to anybody's point of view. They will just harp and argue and argue. And sometimes you find their viewpoint is not just invalid, but also outdated. Okay. Now, those people are the nastiest people on the planet. And if you have had the misfortune of meeting with them or working with them or living with them, well, it is difficult to handle them, but there is a way out. So what is the way out? Number 1, accept conflict. There will be conflict. See, just like you want to do what you want to do, just like you want to have your way, everybody wants it like that, right? But sometimes in each one of us wanting our way to do what is right for us, we might get into each other's way, creating conflict. So does that make you good, or does that make the other person bad, or vice versa? No, it's just that we want what we want, but in this moment in time, what we want is in direct contradiction to each other. All right? Accept it. It will happen. It will happen enough, and it will happen often. It will happen with your colleagues. It will happen with your family. It will happen with your best friend. Number 2, agree to disagree. See, get this straight in your head very, very clearly, that agree to disagree. Just like you have a right to your viewpoint and your beliefs, and what you believe is right, others have it too, even though it's in direct opposition to what you believe and what you know to be right and what is important for you. Look, you don't have to be on the same page. People make so much noise about, oh, we're not on the same page. See, as long as you're in the same book, as long as you're a part of the same story and the purpose, it's okay to be on different pages, as long as you are guided by similar values, similar plot, similar purpose, whatever it takes for you both to exist in the story. But doesn't mean that you will be on the same page all the time. Read any story. It's not possible. But you don't have to make the disagreement a disaster and an invitation for slander and mudslinging and despair. Agree to disagree. It's okay that you and I have different viewpoints. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. That's how we evolve. How would there be any growth if we agree all the time and if there is no conflict and everything is a yes, yes? It's when there is a no, it's when there is a bend, when there is a turn, when there is a challenge, there is an opportunity to become bigger. And that's what we're going to explore with conflict resolution. I want to put a quote here by Harper Lee, which goes, "You never really understand a person until you consider things from their point of view." And another one by Max Lucado, "Conflict is inevitable. Combat, however, is optional." And that's what I want you to consider going forward. Now, how do people resolve conflict? Now, let me tell you, everybody has their own style of handling conflict. Generally, it falls into 5 categories. Now, let me explain. Number 1 is collaborate. Now, these are people, when they are met with direct opposition, they will at least make an effort to understand you and come halfway and to, reach a draw, a conclusion. And they will also try to move on with some concrete decision, saying, okay, chal, I will pay you half the money for your treatment and I will take half the money as a loan for my car. These people are willing to get together. Yes, they understand that you have different viewpoints, that you have different needs and they have theirs, but they're willing to cover half the distance, because the relationship is important, the purpose is important, the story is important, you are important. That doesn't mean they want to compromise, but they are willing to travel half the distance if you will travel half. And I feel that is one of the finest ways of conflict resolution. The second way that people handle conflict is avoid. They go into denial. They avoid the subject, they'll avoid the conversation, they'll avoid you also. It's like, there's an elephant in the room and nobody is addressing it. And that avoidance leads to cold war and tension. And while it can be felt, and while you may think, okay, he's quiet, not saying anything, it's explosive, because one day the person will explode either directly to you or to somebody else. And it really doesn't solve the problem. How does avoiding something solve it? It only makes it bigger. It only makes you weaker. And it only steals from you the power to handle it later. If you think tomorrow I'll handle it, later I'll handle it, if I just let it go for now, it's not going to be like that. Now, number 3 is compete. There are people who, when you start an argument or there is, this clash of interest, oh my God, they will go to any length to prove you wrong. They will fight tooth and claw to make sure that the argument rests in their favor. They are willing to lose a friendship. They are willing to lose a deal. They are willing to lose an opportunity, but they are not willing to lose their stand. They will fight you and they will take control back in their hand. And that's okay. There are people who do that. But what do you gain in the end? How does, oh, you are right, oh, that was okay, how does that even serve a person? It's not about being right or wrong. It's about getting the job done. It's about moving ahead in harmony. It's about trust. It's about security. It's about connections and companionship and friendship and long-lasting relationships, which this kind of competition to win a conflict or an argument never helps. Now, number 4 is accommodate. I like this category of people. They try to consider your viewpoint and to make things work. They are the ones actually who will take the first step and maybe also sometimes all the way on your side if it solves the purpose. They are eager. They will take the first step to call a truce and say, okay, let's settle this, because they are in tune with the higher agenda. These are people who genuinely don't like to fight. It's not that they're trying to avoid the topic or they're trying to compromise. They generally want to make it work. They understand your viewpoint, they understand themselves, and they're willing to go the extra mile to keep the peace and then to find another way to make it work and perhaps move to the rung of collaborate. Now, number 5 is dangerous. These are people who will compromise in a conflict situation. They will put themselves down. They will even tell you sorry even if it's not their fault, just to keep the peace, because they can't handle conflict. And you know what? Later they will implode and create a mess in their lives, but they don't have the bandwidth or the courage to fight with you. They are willing to put their head down. They are willing to live small. They're willing to shut up. They're willing to introvert. They're willing to give up. They're willing to quit. But they will not handle the conflict or the situation. Very quickly, they will throw in the towel and run away if you stand in their way. They can't handle it. And this one is the most dangerous of all. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to open up the playbook. See, this is an audio series, so it may be a smart idea to keep the playbook open and you get it. The first style of handling conflict is collaborate. Second is avoid. Third is compete. Fourth is accommodate. And fifth is compromise. Now, I want you to figure out what is your style of handling conflict. See, for the longest time, my style of handling conflict was compete. Acha, you are going to be a challenge in my life. Let me be a bigger challenge in your life. It didn't serve me. Okay. It put me in a great situation of loss. And it's a good thing I learned that lesson very early on in life, in school, in college, that this kind of attitude is not going to work. Look where you are. Look at the position that you hold. Yes, I was very successful. Yes, I was a brilliant student. But if I really became honest about the quality of my life, I was not happy. And then I went to the other side of the spectrum, took a 180-degree turn and compromise. Okay, chalo, there is conflict. People are opposing you. People don't like you. People have this clash of ideas. To shut up, compromise, put your head down, live small, say you're okay, go apologize also. Oh my God, I became like that. And when I look back in my life, I can't believe the journey that I've had. I mean, you look at me as a motivational speaker, and I will tell you, I have had a very rich and a very disturbing journey of self evolution. It never served me. I started to put myself down. That worked to quite an extent because I have figured this, that if people can keep you small, if people can keep you down, they can feel big and they don't have to grow anymore. But it took me a long while to understand that, look, I'm still not happy. Yeah. When I was attacking people, I was not happy. And now when I'm putting my arms down, now when I'm putting my weapons down and my guard down and my self-respect down and my head down, it's still not working. And that's when I took the responsibility to understand the person, to accommodate and to collaborate. So when I see myself today in a position where I can handle conflict, it has been through a journey. It's okay to make mistakes and suffer, as long as you're asking the right questions and as long as you're not treating this as permanent and as long as you're willing to learn. I think it's acceptable where you will land up. If I can be here, you can get there too. Now, whatever conflict style that you have slated yourself in, I am going to urge you to move over to collaboration and accommodating. And yes, it's going to take some negotiation skills, which we will handle with later. But let us look at the process of collaboration and accommodation that will help you resolve and also prevent conflict in the future. Number one is understand what are the person's fears and expectations. Number two, after having understood, suggest meeting halfway. Chalo, neither yours nor mine. I understand how you feel. Now let's meet middle way. Number three, make an offer with your proposition, considering well the person's fears and expectations. Number four, if the person doesn't want to comply or give in, ask for a chance and put in a timeline. The next is keep the person informed on the progress. And after that, agree to pick up the topic again in X time. And lastly, make a promise of what happens next. So let me give you an example from my life. When I made the decision to, move from being a tuition teacher to a motivational speaker, I was about 22 years old. I was doing very well. I was independent. I was making a lot of money and I was very successful by my own terms. And now I wanted to make a transition. I wanted to move to be a motivational speaker. And my parents looked at my life and they didn't quite agree. They felt that, look, you're at the right age now to get married. And if you now move into motivational speaking, and what if it works? What if it doesn't work? In another 2 or 5 years will go by. So might as well use this opportunity where she's fed up of her teaching business and now push her into marriage. Okay. Now, the first thing, and thank God, like I had that whole journey from compete to compromise, and now I'm there on collaborate. So the first thing that I did right was I understood what is it that my parents expect, what is it that they're fearing. And I found out, when you converse with them, that Dad, what is the problem? What do you really want? What are you worried about? And I found out they really wanted me to settle down. They see me work so hard and they felt I deserve a good life, and this would be the right time for me to start my own family and be taken care of and be supported and stuff like that. Okay, I understood. Okay. And now second is I suggested to meet halfway. I said, Chalo, Dad, I get what you're saying. Give me 1 year. If this really doesn't work out, if my whole motivational speaking thing doesn't work out, what if I got to lose? I'll be 23. It's not just too late, right? And I will come back and then you can do what you want. All right. I made a proposition considering well the expectations and fears, and I acknowledged that. And really, honestly, my parents were looking for a guy. They really didn't want to give in. But I put a timeline to it. I said, give me 1 year and I will keep you posted on the progress. And 1 year, I'm saying, what if it really doesn't work out? What if I really don't like it? I'll keep you posted on my progress and we'll pick up this topic again in 6 months to reevaluate where I am and what I'm doing in life. And you know what? They agreed, and it's a big deal if your parents agree, especially my father. If you get him to agree on something, my God, you are damn good at negotiation skills. But you know what? It wasn't that tough. If you really understand the person, if you really, acknowledge their expectations and fears, and you're willing to meet halfway, you're willing to consider that and also ask for their support, it always works. People are not unreasonable. People just want to be heard and understood. I had asked for 6 months to 1 year when I was 22 years old. It's been 26 years. My parents have not brought up the topic of what are you going to do in life? Are you going to settle down? Are you going to get married? Never. And I have always kept the habit of reporting back to them how my life is going, how I'm doing, what is the progress that I'm making. When you keep people posted, when you keep them in the loop, when you credit them, they will support you. They will come on your side in your progress, in your updation, in your acknowledgement. You've also handled their fears. And really, if I look back, what if it didn't work? What if I failed? I don't know. The topic would come up in 6 months again, and my father would say, oh, look, nothing's working out. So, you better move in this direction. Oh, why that? It could be that I fall in love with somebody within 6 months and I want to get married. It could also be that while my parents want me to get married, they can't find a suitable guy. So the possibilities are endless. But what I'm talking about here is managing conflict with acknowledging possibilities, with understanding, with acknowledgement, and with coming halfway and accommodating the person's expectations and fears. This isn't just conflict management. This is also relationship management. This is also love. This is also grace. This is also greatness. And a little bit of clash, if it allows you that evolution, guess what? Your journey, your character is going to become richer and more powerful. So the point that we are striving at is there will be difficulties, there will be challenges, but by accommodating people, by collaborating them, the outcome is always win-win. And when you take control and charge of that, you are on your destined path to being a genius. And that's what we're going for. I'm always rooting for you. Do the playbook. And if you get stuck somewhere, you know how to reach me. I would be happy to help. So I will see you tomorrow with the next lesson.